Rosemary, today we come to the end of your working life in West Dorset, and we have gathered together some of the many people who want to help you to remember these years. Having qualified as a speech therapist in 1955, you began your working life in Dorset at Langside School for Cerebral Palsy Children in 1970. You may remember this voice.
At least I do not need a car full of crops today, Rose.
You darling!
Remember driving to school when you suddenly braked hard, pulled into the side of the road and fell forward over the wheel? You terrified me. But you sat up, fishing about in your eyes for a contact lens. Once restored to its place, we went on. Oh, right.
Following your time at Langside, you moved on to take all the adult work at Davis Hospital, Weymouth Hospital and Dorchester County Hospital in 1970. Then, following Health Service reorganisation in 1974, this voice entered your working life.
Hello, Rosemary.
Oh, yes.
Rosemary, do you know the very first time you really came to my notice was not the first district meeting we ever had, which was quite an event for all five of us. Then I saw you one day at Damus Road, when it had a beautiful rockery there. You had no idea I could see you, and you were with a patient, really settling them down to sit in the sunshine and wait for their transport. And I thought, somebody who treats a patient as a person. And I realised later on it was you. And that's been you all the way through, that you treat everybody as an individual person, including our working lunches we had together. And they covered all sorts of activities and conversations and food. Thank you, Rosemary, for being you.
The next person who single-handedly made our working life run so smoothly had to be replaced by at least 2 departments when he retired.
Rosemary, do you still have problems with your relaxometer? The story stems from an occasion when the DMT were very generous in giving the community services an extra allocation of end-of-year funds. And I communicated with all the department managers within the community services for their views on how they should spend their monies. Well, as you can guess, when we had the views in from the speech therapist, it was as long as your arm.
Of course, nothing changes.
Costing overwhelmed what had been granted to the community services, least of all speech therapy. So it fell to me to have to go to the speech therapy meeting on one occasion to get their priorities. And we came on this list to an item, relaxometers. And I said, well, what are these relaxometers? So it was explained to me that you had your patient sat or lying on the couch. And then Rosemary says, you then get the patient to grip the handle in the same way as I might be gripping a hand. You get them then to completely relax themselves and push everything out from their minds so that they're completely relaxed. Now, friends, I ask you, to be holding a hand for such a lovely lady, be completely relaxed, everything blank in their mind. Rosemary, you were a lovely person. I know you worked and devoted your time to the treatment of the children and the adults. Have a lovely retirement, and I hope that you still have some fun as we did in those days during your retirement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think one thing that perhaps we omitted to do would be nice to explain. Our first friend that came on diversity is in fact a physiotherapist colleague of Rosemary's from Langside. Anne Hancock, for those of you I'm sure everybody knows, was our district therapist before Rosemary. Fred House was Fred House. I can't remember what you called.
He gave us nice presents.
On the opening of Maiden Castle School in 1976, fresh pastures opened in your working life for which you have a lasting affection.
At first we thought we weren't going to have a speech therapist in Maiden Castle School because Education and Health couldn't decide who was going to pay for one. But at last, sometime before Christmas in 1976, we got Rosemary. How fortunate we were. And then for 14 years, on and off, Rosemary was our speech therapist. And she quickly became a full member of the team, although she was only in school 2 days a week. And she was one of those rare people who can come into a classroom and do her own thing in the classroom without causing disruption to everybody else coming in. And teachers were always very happy to work with Rosemary because of this. And we were always glad to have her ideas and her enthusiasms. And she was always eager to listen to our ideas and our enthusiasms too. The children loved their one-to-one sessions, and they benefited in things like the nursery dribblers group. We tried to think of a better name for that. And all the different activities that speech therapists do. Rosemary was an ideal person in a special school situation. So thank you, Rosemary, for all those years.
Margaret Beetham was headmistress of Maiden Castle School. Although your working with handicapped children has been an abiding pleasure, work with adults has been your major interest. So the establishment of the rehab team at Hardy Ward was a primary focus in your work.
Rosemary, do you remember the time you drove on the wrong side of the road? Your friendly occupational therapist may not be on hand if you have a sexual lapse in the future.
And in case you're thinking, I don't think perhaps I'll drive.
Imagine, if you will, ladies and gentlemen, a case conference somewhere on the south coast. There's a doctor, a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, a speech therapist, and the nurses. The doctor turns to the physiotherapist. "Ah, well, how's Mrs. Thomas doing? Is she ready for home yet?" The physiotherapist replies, "Yes, she's doing very nicely. She's gone up and down the stairs, she's walking with a frame, a little bit unsteady, but doing quite nicely." "Is she ready for discharge?" says the doctor. "Well, yes, I suppose she could." "Good." Now, the occupational therapist. How's Mrs. Thomas doing?" "Well, she's made a cup of tea. She managed quite well getting in and out of bed, and she's getting independently dressing." "That's very good," says the doctor. "Do you think she can go home?" "Well, yes, I suppose she could," says the occupational therapist. "Splendid, splendid," says the doctor. The speech therapist has been moving uneasily while this has been and looking round at the other members of the team. It hasn't actually seen the doctor wink at them. The doctor turns to the speech therapist. "Well, sounds like everybody's happy with Mrs. Thomas. Yeah, what do you think?" The speech therapist takes off her glasses and looks straight at the doctor. But she can't understand what's being said to her, and her speech is only minimal. What's going to happen if somebody comes to the door? "Oh, well, we could board the door up, couldn't we?" The speech therapist goes even redder and puts her glasses down on the table and turns right round and looks straight at the doctor. "You can't possibly be serious." But the doctor says, "We could make a small hole and push a mirror right through the hole." The speech therapist says, "But that's utterly out of the question. Don't you realise this lady needs contact with other people?" At this stage, the physiotherapist and occupational therapist are on the floor with laughter. And the speech therapist realises what's going on, and as she always did, takes it in very good part.
Despite being a very busy full-time clinician, you have always been enthusiastically involved in union and organisational matters, rising to the dizzy heights of chairman of the West Dorset Health Authority J, C and C, where your tight chairing of meetings was appreciated by everyone.
The minutes of the 25th of April 1979 show that Rosemary joined the West Dorset District Staff Consultative Negotiating Committee. At that time, such items were being discussed as smoking in the hospitals and phase 2 of West Dorset Hospital. 7 years later, and not looking a day older than the rest of us were, Rosemary became chairman of the district JCNC and stayed chair until his demise some years later. Congratulations on your retirement.
On my notice board has always been a photograph of the 100th meeting. Do you remember?
I do.
And there was Major General Keithley and me cutting the cake. Everybody else there, so I'm taking it home.
Mr. Ian Kenton. When Anne Hancock retired, Rosemary, it was a natural progression for you to step into her shoes and manage our service. Mutual support was enjoyed by this kindred spirit in your challenging roles.
When I first met you, Rosemary, and I thought, what a quiet and calm person you are. I changed my mind, however, when I saw you at various staff meetings. You had a happy knack of bringing up contentious issues. You felt very strongly, which sometimes set the cat among the pigeons, but often engendered much important discussion. That's livening up the proceedings. You also livened up the proceedings as stage manager of Mattress Productions last year, which was an outstanding success and much enjoyed by all who saw it and all who were in it. But on a more serious note, I want to say, Rosemary, you became a real friend to me, and many a time produced a very welcome and calming cup of coffee. And how sensible it was to get your priorities right with coffee-making facilities in your office. And you lent a listening ear to worries on issues common to our respective services. I valued these times very much, and it was most therapeutic to be able to share our thoughts, even if we could not always or ever solve our particular problems. I want to thank you very much for those times, and just wish you a very happy retirement, Rosemary. Do all the things which you've always wanted to do, but never had time to do. Although speaking of time, it's twice as fast when you're retired, so cram in as much as we can and enjoy life to the full, as I know you will.
District physiotherapist. Your love of clinical work, Rosemary, has always been evident. We are sure all those you have treated over the years would want to wish you well. Here are a group who have always been dear to your heart, but to whom you have to listen to only.
I'm glad to be able to take this opportunity to thank you very much for the time that you and your colleagues have spent with us at the evening speech therapy group. The evenings really have been very useful. The techniques you have taught us and the advice you have given us has certainly helped me to keep fluent during all the different occasions where I may well have speech problems. Thank you. And finally, I'd just like to wish you a very happy and long retirement.
Hello, Rosemary. I would like to echo John's sentiments, but also add my special thanks for your understanding in our one-to-one sessions. I came to you when I was at a particularly low ebb and needed your support. You gave me that support and have continued to do so in the group sessions. I still have the tape of your relaxing technique, including, of course, your so have no fear, your influence will not come to an end. Once again, thanks for all your help and have a very happy retirement. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, those thank yous very brave effort because they are two of our adult stammerers, and you can imagine a tape in front of stammerers, it was very splendid fun to do that. Rosemary, you have always been a caring and supportive colleague to us all. This next contributor has shared on the highs and lows of your working life for many years.
Hello Rosemary, we share the same surname and I have shared your companionship and your support in the double effort we've done over the years, and particularly the last 3 years. So Tweedledum wishes Tweedledee a very happy and relaxing time.
The next Smith, ladies and gentlemen, is the district speech therapist from East Dorset. We hope to have one last contributor to express his appreciation for your work in West Dorset. Unfortunately, other commitments beyond West Dorset have taken him away at the very last minute. However, at 6 a.m. this morning, he recorded this message for you.
Hello Rosemary, it's Ian Cross here. I'm very sorry I can't be with you today to celebrate your retirement and the outstanding contribution which you've made not only to speech therapy but to healthcare in West Dorset. But I do hope you're having a good time with your friends and colleagues. You will remember, Rosemary, that we first met in 1987 when I first came to West Dorset, and there were many, many difficulties. You were at that time chairman of the Joint Staff Consultative
crave your indulgence again for a moment from in front of the screens rather than behind this time. Just to say my personal thanks to Rosemary. We first met years ago on the stroke unit, and although I've seen a lot of patients with stroke, I haven't actually looked after a stroke unit before. And I think it would be safe to say I was in need of some education, perhaps, particularly with speech therapists and when not to discharge people with dyslexia. Rosemary gently and sometimes firmly when she needed to showed me the way and was an invaluable member of the Harvey team. You've heard some of her patients. The stroke patients she dealt with would said exactly the same things. You bring a wonderful warmth both for your patients and to the case conferences. They were different when you left. I have to say, I think there's something about speech therapists. We've managed to wind your successor up almost. Almost as much.
You did it very successfully.
We all missed you. I particularly missed you when things changed. And I know you were there on Wednesday night. I wasn't. I greatly missed that. It was good fun. So on behalf of the stroke unit team and all the many stroke patients that you've helped greatly, have a great time. I'm sure it's all right. I have no idea how old you are, Rosemary. I wouldn't agree with that.
About 92, I think.
Everybody I've seen retire over the last few years, we've seen them about 4 weeks later, and they look as though the 10 years have dropped off. So, you look about 20 again, I would imagine. All I can say, Rosemary, is thank you personally, and thank you very much to the team.
Thank you very much.
Wow, Rosemary, what can I say after all of that? For me, a very personal thank you for a great deal of support that you've given me since I arrived in West Dorset in 1989. And if you remember, at that stage you were actually acting up when Anne was off for a while. And of course the foundation stone of this building was just being laid, and it was a very exciting time in planning this. And of course you brought speech therapy into the Children's Centre, and we actually tried to build a very sort of strong multidisciplinary team here, and I think we succeeded. And all I can say is that the senior staff meeting and certainly action group and I think we talked about that yesterday. I think it was said previously that you were always there to challenge and ask the sort of awkward and pointed questions, and of course that's been very good for all of us. And it's been very nice to see all the paediatric therapies, and of course speech therapy is wider than that, actually begin to really work together and plan together. And I think that was a challenge for everyone to begin with, but I think it certainly has enhanced the service that the director has provided. So a very long and happy retirement. I don't know what we're going to do for Mattress Productions in the future, because that was a most marvellous evening, and we had hoped that it would be repeated, and perhaps you'll come back and help with that. But without any more ado, I'm going to hand over to Nick, or should I say Matt Nick, because I also have a with Nick, and Nick is going to actually present all the wonderful things.
Thank you very much.
Right, would you like to come in? A lot of people have said a lot of things which are very true. I can certainly speak over the last 4 years and a bit, and I feel a relative newcomer to West Dorset in this company. But I certainly say that I value the contribution that you have made greatly. I know that the Trust and the Trust Board do too. hope that you will come back and that you will be able to see some of the things that are going on this site and elsewhere come to fruition and come back as a visitor. So it's my great pleasure to present to you, first of all, a small cheque on behalf of the Trust, but also some presents from your colleagues and friends.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I would like to say first of all, of course, to thank everybody very much. I'm totally overwhelmed actually. Those of you who know me will find it quite strange when I say I'm nearly speaking. But it's been an absolutely wonderful time. I'm so grateful to all my colleagues for arranging it. I think it was brilliant to get such a wonderful array of people. It's unbelievable. It's beyond my wildest dreams. So thank you all very, very much. And it's lovely to see so many people here. Some of my, apart from the ones I'm still working with, so many old friends, which are so kind of you to come back. It's been really, really lovely. You are a bit of a newcomer, I have to say. Because I've been here for 25 years. But I think actually it's, we've been through many changing times, both before they came and since. It goes on and on changing, and of course at the present time most of you probably do know that it's going to change again for speech therapy, but we don't know what. That when we had review by the Commission, they decided that East and West Dorset should merge. Now we are all happy to work together in the fact that we always have, we know each other and so on, but it has worked, I think, quite well as two separate institutions, because Dorset's a big place and Christchurch to Lyme is a long way. And administratively I think it's worked, hasn't it? But however, in their wisdom, they decided to merge. And so this has been going on and taken a tremendous amount of thought and energy and goodness knows what, and a lot of it, of course, I must mention Karen here, who's been absolutely superb at doing business plans and bids and goodness knows what. We've all tried to do our best to support it, but it's been a very long, and I did hope very much that by today, or before actually, that we would know whether it's going to be East Dorset or West Dorset who are going to host the Peace episodes, but we don't know. No much on that. So we still don't know. So there are more changes ahead, but we're pretty adaptable, aren't we, as a group of people? We manage, we cope, we go from various things to and we seem to have still managed to, I hope, all of us give as good a service as we possibly can. I'd like to just say something, just a sort of slightly serious thing. I think you all remember, not so long ago, there was a chief executive, not, of course, a nice chief executive. There was this, it came on the television and the radio and said, the consultants and the clinicians, their first loyalty should be to the Trust. Now, I think we were all, kind of honestly, horrified by that, because our first loyalty has got to be to our patients. It's got to be. We all know that. And I think that has always been our guiding principle. And I think as a manager, my next guiding principle was to look after my staff. Because unless you have a good staff and a contented staff and a happy staff, and my staff are absolutely wonderful, then you don't have good service for the patients. And then after that, I think the loyalty is to other colleagues. And as Margaret has said, I think we've been so lucky here that we have a wonderful multidisciplinary setup here, and I think it's been brilliant. I think this building is wonderful. Of all the years I've worked, this is by far the best building I've ever worked in. And I'm not really all that sure, it can be a bit of politically expedient to say that buildings don't matter. I don't agree with that, because if you have a nice building, as staff, you feel better. You feel more treasured. You feel as if you're worthwhile. You can give a better service. So I think buildings do matter. Of course people matter, but buildings matter too. And so I hope very much that this building will continue, and that nobody will ever decide to sell it. And particularly not to another trust. As Margaret will know, and I do tend to get a tantrum when I stand. when we're trying to do a service and the buildings get sold from under our feet. But I was never mind that. And finally, just to sound a lighter note, that everybody keeps saying to me, Rosemary, what are you going to do when you retire? Goodness gracious, you know, as if the world's going to go down. So I put something down. So I thought of all the things I could do. Mind you, first of all, my first thought was, you know those American films where somebody sits in a rocking chair in the sun and they watch the sun go down in the evening, you know. I thought there's a lot to be said for that. However, I thought I could write to it. I could join a choir. I could serve on committee. I could stand for the council. I could join a pressure group. I could complain about the health service. I could serve for an Oxfam. I could write a book. And then I thought, sounds worse than speech therapy. So I think maybe I'll enjoy watching the sea, watching the people go by, and just having a gentle time. And thank you. I had some wonderful presents from my own staff, a beautiful, beautiful wooden recorder which I played recordings on with a group on Monday, and they took it yesterday, and they were all there saying, oh, look, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. Somebody even suggested it would be an heirloom, so I'm terribly grateful to them, and various other lovely presents. So, you know, do please go and see what I can recommend. Thank you. Thank you.